Welcome to You and Your Money, empowering you to reach your goals with tips to help you plan well, invest well, and live well. Today's episode features Michael Baum, Vice President and Associate Financial Advisor at Weiss Hale & Zahansky Strategic Wealth Advisors. Let's dig into today's topic.
As we kick off 2024 and our listeners start to make resolutions for this new year, I'm willing to bet there aren't many that have to do with finances, but you're with us this morning to share how creating a strong financial strategy now can actually be as beneficial to your financial well-being as creating a new workout routine can be to your physical health, right?
It absolutely can, Wayne. So it starts with taking the time to sit down and think about your finances and plot out a strategy for the year ahead. That's one of the best things you can do for your financial health. Otherwise, you're sort of flying blind, and that's not going to get you very far in terms of building wealth.
Michael, you have sort of a 5-point checklist on how to build out solid financial strategy for the year. How does that work?
Well, there's a couple of things people should start to consider right now. And the first one we're going to talk about here is the increased contribution limit for retirement plans in 2024. So contributing the maximum to workplace plans like 401ks and leveraging catch-up contributions if you're over age 50 can significantly increase your retirement savings. For 2024, the maximum employee contribution to 401k, 403b, and 457 accounts is $23,000, and individuals 50 and older can contribute an additional $7,500 as a catch-up contribution. For simple IRAs, the maximum contribution is $16,000, and the catch-up is $3,500. Now, of course, it's not always possible to take those maximum amounts out of your paycheck and out of your budget. But if you sit down and look at your budget and think about ways you might be able to contribute even just a little bit more than you are now, that can really add up to a lot more savings down the road. And maxing out your contributions to a traditional IRA is another option, which offers tax-advantaged retirement savings opportunities. The original Secure Act repealed the maximum age for contributing. So if you're over age 70 and a half and you're still earning income in 2024, you can still contribute to a traditional IRA, which wasn't always the case.
Those sound like excellent options to boost your retirement contributions. Now, let's move on to number 2 of your 5-point plan, maximizing health savings account contributions for people with high deductible health plans.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a high deductible health plan and you're able to contribute to a health savings account, that can play a crucial role in building more of a healthcare savings buffer. Individuals should aim to contribute the maximum amounts for 2024, which are $4,150 for an individual, or $8,300 for a family. And if you're age 55 or older, you can contribute an additional $1,000 on top of those limits. So work those weekly or monthly HSA contributions into your budget in a way that will help you get up to or close to those maximum amounts, because it will lower your tax liability and provide you more funds to cover healthcare costs to help keep you feeling and living well.
All right. Now, what about taxes? We'll be getting into tax season soon. I guess technically it's tax season now, but most of us don't get our paperwork for another couple of weeks. So the timing is good to think about that, too. What can we do to minimize taxes? Well,
obviously, taxes are crucial, and there's a lot of ways to optimize taxes. It's a really complex topic, and there's so many different things to consider that I have to just say this up front. It would be impossible for me to cover all of the ways to ensure you're as tax efficient as possible here on the program today. But there are a couple of major considerations you can begin to think about on your own and then discuss the more complex details with your accountant. So the first thing is individuals approaching certain tax thresholds should consider strategies to manage their taxable income. That might involve deferring income to a year later if you have that opportunity, or utilizing some of those tax-advantaged investment vehicles that I just talked about. But stay mindful of those thresholds for marginal tax rates, capital gains taxes, and additional Medicare taxes. That will ensure you have a much better tax plan throughout the year and save you some money. Some of those important thresholds that you should keep in mind are the 37% marginal tax rate, the 20% capital gains tax rate, and of course, the 3.8% surtax on investment income, which is triggered when your modified adjusted gross income exceeds certain levels, $200,000 for individuals and $250,000 for married couples filing jointly. And lastly, and this one affects a lot of older folks, an extra 0.9% Medicare tax applies to both W-2 and self-employment income exceeding those same modified adjusted gross income thresholds, totaling 2.35% for individuals with W-2 earnings above that threshold and 3.8% for self-employed individuals. So self-employed individuals especially need to take some extra precautions and extra care around their taxes because they're just going to pay a little bit more in most cases.
Michael, this stuff sounds pretty complex. Would this be the kind of thing that someone who wants to take advantage of it maybe should pick up the phone or make an appointment to talk to you at either your Pomfret or Tolland offices?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's why I sort of gave that caveat in the beginning. There's so much to consider, so much to think about, and it's so hard to explain, in a blanket statement without looking at somebody's really, individual, unique situation. So how much you earn, what your sources of income are, those are things that we can help take a look at and identify strategies to minimize the taxes and set you up with, a plan for 2024 and beyond.
Well, it's still helpful information, so we thank you for that. Are there any other general strategies for tax efficiency that people can consider?
Definitely. So if you're charitably inclined, charitable giving, especially strategic charitable giving, and when I say strategic, I mean the timing and the amount, can definitely help you save on taxes. For example, if you're older than 70 and a half and you are subject to a required minimum distribution, you can give directly from your IRA to a charity in what's called a qualified charitable distribution and have that satisfy the RMD and have that income never recognized on your tax return where normally it would be when you take the RMD. There's a limit. You can do that up to $105,000 per year. So, that could be a pretty big tax savings just in directing your RMD to a charity that perhaps you would have given to anyway.
A lot of acronyms here, and you talked about the RMD, and I think anybody that's got some of these investment portfolios know what it is, but it's the time of the year when you start to get some of those RMDs. Explain what an RMD is and what the proper way to utilize it and report it.
Sure. Well, once you reach a certain age, and the age has actually been getting pushed back gradually by different pieces of legislation. The age used to be, the year in which you turned 70 and a half. It's now 72 or 73, and there's plans for it to be as late as 75 for people who are not yet, at that retirement age. But what happens is the IRS requires that you start to take a distribution from those tax-advantaged retirement accounts that you've been building up your savings in. So they look at how much money was in your account as of the end of the prior year, so 12/31/2023. They look at that account balance. They look at your age, and they use a formula to say you must withdraw this amount. And, how exactly you satisfy that RMD is going to be dependent on your individual situation and your tax situation. But, a lot of people take it 1 month at a time and spread it out over the entire year and use it as sort of a extra paycheck to go with their Social Security and, any other income sources they have. Other people they don't necessarily rely on that income. They don't need the RMD, but they're still required to take it out. So they may wait as long as they can and take it out right before the end of the year, just to allow those assets to continue to grow tax deferred for as long as they possibly can.
With most RMD providers or most investment providers, does that money just automatically either come to you in the form of a check or into some account, or do you have to ask for it to get it?
Well, they'll typically remind you that it's required, but they will not typically automate sending that money to you, in my experience. So it's something where, you'll want to be on top of that. And if there's a certain way that you want to receive it, you'll have to provide specific instructions. In my experience, most, custodians or banks are not going to be going out of their way to, have that conversation with you to figure out what's going to be best for you. They're just going to put it on your statement somewhere that says, this is your required minimum distribution this year, and leave it to you to sort of figure out.
All right, I'm with your 5-point checklist on how to build out a solid financial strategy for the year. Number 4, assessing estate plans and staying on top of financial dates. What should people know in that regard?
So if you've got an estate plan, that's a good first step. If you don't, you should definitely think about getting one. And when I say estate plan, I'm not talking about, people who have millions upon millions of dollars necessarily. An estate plan is just a set of instructions that details what you want to have happen to your assets. If something happens to you and you pass away. So that could be as simple as a trust that says this is where I want these assets to go and who I want to receive them. It could be more complicated. I'm sorry, I meant to say a will. A will would be the most simple. A trust would be more complicated with a more detailed set of instructions. But that would be sort of the basics of estate planning, and it sets up, how your assets will pass. And if you don't have those in place, essentially everything that you own would go through a probate process, and the state will decide, who receives what based on, sort of their formula of who your next of kin is. So it's really important that you have that in place. And it's also really important that you regularly review and update your estate plan to make sure it stays in line with your wishes as your life evolves and your circumstances change. And while you're at it, update your beneficiary designations, review those, make sure that you're not leaving your retirement accounts to the wrong person. And be diligent about key financial dates, and maintaining a monthly financial checklist will help you ensure that you're staying on track with your financial strategy and making planning adjustments throughout the year. So we have a really helpful list of key dates available on the resources page of our website, along with a bunch of other great tools. You can check it out at whzwealth.com/resources.
That's good to know. Thanks for sharing that. And finally, number 5 on your 5-point plan for 2024, seeking professional financial guidance is essential. Can you emphasize the importance of professional financial advice in this process?
Well, I think, listeners probably got a little taste of it just from our conversation today. We're trying to cover so much information and try to synthesize it in a simple way, but a lot of this is actually just quite complex. And navigating those complexities of your overall financial plan on your own can be quite a challenge. So seeking professional guidance is really invaluable. Financial advisors like myself and the entire team here at WHZ serve as trusted partners, and we provide tailored strategies aligned to your individual circumstances and goals. So collaborating with a professional ensures a comprehensive financial plan and wealth management strategy designed to achieve your long-term financial objectives.
So here we are on the 4th day of the new year. Do you find that, let's not just talk about this week, but say the last couple of weeks, people are looking into investing into the same things as they did a year ago, or maybe taking a different direction when it comes to stocks, when it comes to bonds, when it comes to domestic versus international, just the entire investing philosophy? Have you seen a change in the last year?
Well, I guess our investment committee meets pretty regularly just to look at what we see as the opportunities in the market, what we see as the threats. And so we, the portfolios we manage for clients are always making those sort of changes. I think individuals, out there who are more do-it-yourselfers, have probably been, chasing returns more often than not, because what they see, the indexes are starting to go up. They see that pocket of the market doing really well. They jump in. They see a downturn. Maybe they get scared. They get a little skittish. They move out of those pockets of the market that are doing poorly or doing less well. A lot of people moved into cash last year because, banks were advertising CDs and money markets that were in the 4 or 5% range. And that felt really nice to get a safe, secure 4 or 5% after, the downturn that we saw in 2022. So I do think, people in general are often moving their money around, and I think they're often moving it based on what they have seen do well most recently. And I don't think that that's a long-term winning strategy. I think you kind of miss the best of times when you're reactive. And so I think that's where our approach and our investment committee really helps clients kind of stay with a strategy, ride the short-term blip, and take advantage of the long-term benefit of a really well-diversified portfolio.
Good to get the aspect of where we go in 2024 with our finances, 2024 resolutions, and setting your financial strategy now and benefiting all year from that. Michael, thank you for joining me on the show and sharing these invaluable financial planning tips for the new year.
My pleasure, Wayne. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, if you seek guidance or wish to discuss your financial strategy or any of the key topics we mentioned on the show today, don't hesitate to reach out to Weiss, Hale, and Zahansky Strategic Financial Advisors.
That brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks for listening to You and Your Money. Find even more episodes, videos, and other resources at our website, whzwealth.com. Be sure to come back next week for more tips to help you live fearlessly and pursue your financial and life goals. Until then, live well. Weiss, Hale, and Zahansky Strategic Wealth Advisors offers securities and advisory services through Commonwealth Financial Network, member FINRA, SIPC, a registered investment advisor. Fixed insurance products and services offered through CES Insurance Agency. They practice at 697 Pomfret Street, Pomfret Center, Connecticut, 06259, and can be reached at 860-928-2341. Weiss, Hale, and Zahansky Strategic Wealth Advisors do not provide legal or tax advice. The tenured financial services team strives to support clients in achieving their financial life goals. For more information regarding wealth management and customized financial planning with Weiss, Hale, and Zahansky Strategic Wealth Advisors, please visit www.whzwealth.com.